All right, welcome back to the Contrarians. This is a new special show we've been doing. We've done a few so far, but it's the Contrarians build a concept album. And today we are talking about AC/DC. Here's my new AC/DC book, just out, AC/DC at 50, big hardcover book. You can get that at martinpopoff.com. So I love that we're talking about AC/DC, but I'm not on the hot seat with this one. Tim Derling is with us. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing really good, Martin. I'm enjoying the series.
Yeah, excellent. Good. So we've got Tim. So the idea here is we go through the catalog and we build a concept album. Usually a traditional two side, five tracks per side sort of album. And check out what Tim did with the Sammy Hagar. That was unbelievable. It was called Out of Space. So we've got the Out of Space one. We've got the ZZ Top one as well. But Out of Space was a good involved story with Sammy and all the whole space sort of situation. But let's dig into what Tim's got for us for an AC/DC concept album. Take it away, Tim.
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, AC/DC this time around. And when you start thinking about bands to include in this, you might think, well, there's no concept album there. But you start looking, and you know, whether intentional or not, there are a lot of common themes that show up in the lyrics. And I noticed that with AC/DC, especially in the Bon Scott era, there were a lot of songs about money or the lack thereof. And really, I think that speaks to the working class roots that these guys came out of. I mean, they dug their way out of, the Australian outback and conquered the world, really. And even when, Bon died and they got Brian Johnson, he was very hard scrabble. Didn't have much to a dime to his name. He said he used to go into restaurants and take food off tables because so these guys have always had that working class thing. And I don't think there's anything fake about it, even though they've literally sold, millions and millions of albums. So I came up with a concept album, just a 10-song concept album, and I'm calling it Dirty Business, which it's a combination of words that have shown up in their songs and album titles, but it just sounds like a title that they just haven't gotten to yet. It sounds very AC/DC.
Yeah.
And so I've spanned the catalog with this, but ordered the songs, I think, in a logical order. We got to have a protagonist in this story. And I like to, give him a name. So I've decided to name our hero Bon Johnson.
Okay.
Portmanteau of the two singers' names. So normally I have to write a little preamble for these, but I actually didn't this time because I'm starting off with a song that begins with its own introduction from this album, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Of course, this is the North American reissue version, but it literally starts out, the following is a true story, only the names have been changed to protect the guilty. So, here's Bon. I got holes in my shoes, I got holes in my teeth, I got holes in my socks, I can't get no sleep, I'm trying to make $1 million. Just hard times. One of these days, just you wait, one of these days, see me driving around town in my rockin' Rolls Royce with the sunroof down. But, in the meantime, it ain't no fun waiting around to be a millionaire. And, of course, it's got really nothing to do with this concept, but I was always amused by the end part where he talks about, Howard Hughes being his neighbor and, get your effing jumbo jet out of my airport. So that's we're on our way. Now, to say that Bon is down on his luck is an understatement. No fixed address, no romantic prospects, and he outlines it all with a song from this album, Power Age, Down Payment Blues. Now he's sitting in my Cadillac listening to my radio. So, yeah, he's got a Cadillac, but he can't afford the gas for it. He's got holes in the shoes. There's again, holes in the shoes. That comes back. I'm way overdue, down payment blues. Can't even feed my cat on Social Security, hiding from the rent man. Sheriff knocking on my door. Like, he's got nothing. He's got nothing. So we learn that Bon Johnson was orphaned at a young age. He never had much exposure to the business world. And he just happens to walk past a bank one day. And he thought, I'm going to go in, talk to someone, a financial advisor. And this guy sees this guy coming, this sort of, homeless guy, hobo looking guy. He's initially just ready to please leave, but he said, "You know what? I'm gonna put this guy in his place. I'm gonna tell this guy how tough it really is out there, and maybe he'll never come in again." Which leads us to a track from "Let There Be Rock And the song is Dog Eat Dog. Businessman, when you make a deal, do you know who you can trust? Do you sign your life away? Do you write your name in dust? It's dog eat dog. What else is there? Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. It's a lie. That's we see the blind man on the street looking for something free. Hear the kind man ask his friend, "Hey, what's in it for me?" This is how it is. So he's got no capital. He's got no collateral. He can't get any kind of loan. So Bond leaves the bank dejected. He finds a street corner. He sits there for hours. Day turns into night, and the business clientele of this particular part of the city changes. And Bond observes a less respectable way to pay for his next meal. And this enters, if this was a musical or whatever, or a classical piece, I would call this next part the money suite. Suite as in S-U-I-T-E. So we go to this album here, which people may have heard of, Back in Black, as opposed to Back in Beige. We've got What Do You Do for Money, Honey? Which is obviously about, the working girls. You're working in bars, riding cars, never going to give it for free. Stop Your Love on the Road, All You're Digging for Gold. You make me wonder, what do you do for money, honey? And so Bond has never been, a very moral individual, but he's still shocked by what he sees, observing this nightlife. But one of the workers catches his eye, and they strike up a conversation. They turns out they come from similar backgrounds. They're both orphans. They come from nothing. Not a romantic relationship, just more of a shared bond, like almost like war veterans. They've been through it. And so Bond kind of sums up what a week in this lady's life must be like, which leads us to the razor's edge, and can't even afford an apostrophe.
Yeah.
And we get to the song Money Talks. One word, Money Talks.
Yeah.
So, tailored suits, chauffeured cars, fine hotels, big cigars. Everybody knows how that song goes. Come on, loving for the money. Listen to the money talk. So he figures that, yeah, she's got it pretty good, actually. So Bond returns to his black with some scraps of food partaken from leftover trays from outdoor cafes. Again, that's directly from a Brian Johnson quote. And in some desperate cases, dumpsters. Because of vandals and stray animals, he rarely slept with the windows rolled down, but one summer night it was really, really humid. He had no choice. He had to roll the windows down. And he falls asleep, but he wakes up to the morning paper hitting him in the face. Now, I don't know how the morning paper got there. It's not like he has a subscription, but anyway, he opens the front page and he sees the very girl that he'd been talking with died after moving to Los Angeles. It takes a dark turn here. So now we go to this album, Black Ice, which I have in the blue version, for the song Money Made. Went down to LA. They roped her in. She couldn't get away. Spreading cash all about. The die was cast. There's no getting out of a matter. Money made. That's a pretty smart lyric. And so, it's kind of a lament. So he's still flat broke. And Johnson now felt even lower due to the loss of the only person he ever considered a friend. Chance dumpster dive yielded some unexpected relief in the form of a discarded guitar. Besides a hole in the body, it's otherwise in good shape. Bond found another newspaper to wipe the muck off of it, and as luck would have it, this guitar happened to be in an open tuning. So all he could just strum the guitar and just use one finger to move around it and make up, sort of melodies. Just making up blues patterns, lyrics as he went. Johnson was shocked when passersby started throwing coins his way. And at first he thought they're mocking him, but after the same mail carrier passed by for a third time, he said, "Why are you throwing money at me?" He said, "You got a good voice and you got a talent for making music." So now this plants a seed. Maybe there is a better way to get by. And we conclude the Money Suite with all the way to the most recent AC/DC album, Power Up, or PWR Up, however you want to describe it. And the song is Money Shot. Let's see. Trying to find the exact, doctor, show me the antidote. I'd try the money shot. So he's going to go for it. It's Quiet Tuesday in the neighborhood that Bond unfortunately called home. One night, he heard music coming out of one of the city's many taverns. He noticed a sign that said "Free Jam Night, all welcome." He took his beat-up guitar and goes in. So now we go to this underrated album. We had a panel discussion about this. Flick of the switch. And we've got the song Guns for Hire. So I'm a real entertainer, a mischief maker, a lover of no fixed abode. Quick draw on the floor, no law, give you more. I got guns for hire. Smooth operator, a big dictator, going to mark you with my brand. So, yeah, he He knew no cover songs at all, so Bond just wails out his own personal blues, nonstop, 30-minute, almost like a catharsis for him. And to his complete amazement, the rowdy crowd was silent during his performance, yet they started to applaud after he finished. And he stared at the stage floor. He was afraid to look up. He didn't know what he was going to see. But when he finally did, there he was. White suit, cigar, your typical old school manager type. He referred to himself as simply Jack, which could either mean the Jack or Big Jack. So it spans two AC/DC songs. He gave Bond the usual, I'm going to make you a star spiel. So he figured he had nothing to lose. Bond signs a contract, which, like contracts do, contains stipulations. First order of business was changing his name. Jack claims that Bond Johnson sounds too much like the name of a famous actor who Bond had never heard of. So from here on, he became known as Brian Scott. So I'm just taking the leftover frontman names.
Yeah.
And that takes us to a song. It's originally, I believe it's originally on the Australian High Voltage, but also appears on here, 74 Jailbreak. And the song is Show Business. You play in halls, you play in bars, you're climbing walls, chasing stars. You pay the man, you pay your dues. When it's all gone, you sing the blues. That's show business. So, we're winding down now. And at first it was okay. He began to get some decent paying gigs. This Jack character bought him a new guitar and strings, new clothes, and let him live in a vacant space above his garage. But the music industry wasn't looking for an aged blues singer at this particular point in time. And then one morning, as Brian Scott awakes to the sound of gunfire, he peered out one window and to see the bloody body of Jack, his manager. He later learned that Jack had borrowed money from an even more questionable businessman than himself, and this individual had sent some of his heavies to collect either money or blood. In the end, they got both. So to his horror, Brian heard the building's front door crash, footsteps bounding in with clothes on his back. And he grabbed his guitar and hopped out the window over 10 feet to the ground, scurried away. He'd run faster than he ever had in his life. Found his old Cadillac again, a little rustier, but still intact. He hid up for a few weeks and then decided that the least he could do was honor Jack's memory with one more gig. And at that point, he's back in business from Fly on the Wall, or whatever you want to call the Flow on the Wall, or Flow Eye. Anyway, it's kind of a mess. So, you got Screaming Murder, Lock Up Your Door, Double Dealing, Got to Have More, Call Me Dirty, Trash My Name, Just Tell the Boys that I'm going to be back in business again. So we don't know how Bond or Brian turns out after this. We know that he's back in business. And that concludes Dirty Business, the AC/DC concept album.
Yeah. Wow, that's wicked. Yeah, it's so cool seeing those 3 songs in a row with money in them, right? And then 2 with business at the end. So, and the whole time you're doing this, I'm thinking of a Broadway play, right? I'm thinking of our mutual buddy Sean Kelly, possibly being involved. That he's in Rock of Ages now.
Oh yeah.
And he did the Twisted Sister thing. I think of a whole cast up there doing this this story, which is a very Bon Scott sort of story, right? And like you say, it's a Brian Johnson sort of story.
Well, even Brian Johnson, Brian had a bit part in Sting's The Last Ship. You can see clips of him, so it's not as if these guys don't have a touch of that, thespian. Bond certainly had a thespian touch. He was basically a pirate. But Sean, if you're watching this, man, make this happen. We need the AC/DC musical that the world didn't know they needed.
Exactly. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks very much. And I love that title, Dirty Business. Like you say, it's like you think it in your head. It's like they must have a song called that somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. Well, that's very cool. Thanks very much for that, Tim. So if you like these shows, let us know in the comments. Let us know what we missed here. Let us know if there's even any other AC/DC themes that you can see making a concept album out here. You can join our Patreon situation. That's kind of a cool thing because when you join that, there's a whole community over at Patreon, but it allows you to sign up for being on these panels that we've been doing, these cool Dark Horse panels where we look at one album for like an hour kind of thing, and some of those are some great great discussions that we have. But yeah, thanks again, Tim, and let us know what you guys think, and we'll see if we could dream up some more. The Contrarians build a concept album.